All right, welcome back. Today we are going over EDC with an EMT. Let's get into it. All right, today's scripture reading comes from Philippians 4, verses 6 and 7. We're going to read this, then we'll hop right back into the video. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. All right, this is my buddy Doug. He's an EMT, as we just discussed, and today we're going over what he carries on the daily, and then later in the video we'll go over what he supplements this with, depending on where he's going or what he might need. So I'll let Doug take the floor and talk about what he carries.
I guess we'll just start at the bare bones basics. I wear Solomon 4D Quest boots. I like Darn Tough socks. I think those are really important. The other big one would be my belt. I carry a Core Essentials, I wear a Core Essentials gun belt. It's one of the ratcheting models that's, I think, rated for 9 pounds, so it's meant to carry an EDC handgun. Had that for several years now. It's been fantastic. Some of the boring stuff that's in my pockets, got my wallet, got my phone. It's cold where we live, so I've got just a cheap pair of Gore-Tex gloves that I got from a local shop. I have chapstick, little pair of earplugs because I get headaches really easily, and you never know when you need spare ear pro, right? My multi-tool that I carry every day is a Leatherman Surge. This has been a fantastic tool that I've had for 5 years now, roughly. Does everything that I needed to do. It's a bit of a chonk though, so if you're looking into multi-tools, this is a big heavy one, so just be aware of that. I carry OC spray with me every day because it's good to have something between a stiff word and a gun. And then I carry a Streamlight pocket flashlight. This is the ProTac 2LX. It's the model that takes 2 CR123A batteries. It has the tail switch. Obviously just used for utility purposes, but also, again, kind of like the OC spray, something between a stiff word and a gun. It's not illegal to shine this at somebody's face if they're walking at you in a dark parking lot. It is illegal to shine your weapon light at somebody in a dark parking lot if they're not an active threat to your life. So that's kind of the mundane stuff. Now moving on to, I guess, my firearm next. This is an HK VP9. I have a TLR 1 HL weapon light. I have an Aimpoint Acro P2 on here. Small, low profile mag flare, and then that's about it. I haven't done much to the internals. I carry Federal 147 grain HST hollow point ammunition because that's what our local state police carries, so legality reasons. 20 round spare mag, and it's all in a T-Rex Sidecar 2.0 with the spare mag attachment.
Real quick, before we get into the further stuff from medical, so you obviously train with your pistol, you shoot that, you practice with it and everything. So with your pepper spray, that's something else. Would you recommend, I guess, if people are carrying pepper spray, that they buy two, one of the, or two of the same kind, test it out, make sure that they know how it's going to spray, how far it's going to spray. Have you personally used your pepper spray before on anyone? I assume not, but.
Yeah, so those are definitely good points. These, I believe, run about $15, give or take. So at that price point, I definitely recommend buying a couple of them. I think you can buy them in 3-packs, which is what I did. And my original intention was to carry one, have a spare, and then use one to test. I never actually ended up doing that, so shame on me. But the how pepper spray works is not actually what a lot of people think. It's a thin stream, at least these ones are. It's not an actual fog. And your effective range is something to the tune of 15 feet. So it's pretty limited. So I definitely recommend watching some YouTube videos. Active Self-Protection on YouTube has some good content out there. And if you can afford it, definitely test it out. If not, watch some YouTube videos, get an idea of how they work, what your limitations are. Maybe mark off 15 feet on the ground with tape just so you can kind of get a visual. But yeah, if you can afford to train with it, just don't do it inside, obviously. Yeah. This particular model is POM, P-O-M. It's been solid. I haven't used it on anyone or for anything, but I've been carrying it in my pocket for several years now. The clip hasn't broken, it hasn't degraded at all, so this one's been good to me so far.
Yeah, that's something I think that people really don't think about, is having, like you said, a light can be used as defense, and pepper spray. Like Doug was saying, you don't always have to use your firearm, and if you don't have to brandish that in a scenario, you might have other options, and you're just giving yourself more tools for any situation that might come up. And that's something I think that's pretty overlooked. Like, it's cool to have the cool guy gear and the gun and the light, and those are super important. Just as important though to have other options if you need them. Another question I had for you is why you chose the gun that you chose, and then what you have on it. Why the light? Why the aim point? Obviously,
Yeah.
Glock is pretty popular, so why did you choose what you chose?
Yeah, my firearm, I am a left-handed shooter, which is super unfortunate for me, big me problem. But that's the main reason why I went with the HKVP9, because it is ambidextrous in all respects. The mag release is the European style paddle release that's on both sides of the trigger guard, and it has a slide lock on both sides of the frame, which is big for me. The weapon light I chose because it is a very common light from a very reputable brand, and it's a lot less expensive than a Surefire X300. If I were to do it all over again, I probably would have gone with the TLR7A, just because it's a little shorter, a little lighter, a little easier to conceal. I believe that's what Dan here's got. So you can kind of see the difference there in length. Mine juts out a good probably 3/4 of an inch. With the Acro P2, I went with that one because I wanted a closed emitter optic, specifically because I only have the one pistol for now. So this gun pulls double duty as my everyday carry concealed gun, as well as my, outside the waistband train at the range gun, and my camping, hiking kind of outside the waistband gun. So that's why I kind of chose what I chose here. As far as the holster goes, I'm a huge fan of T-Rex Arms. You'll see more of their products in this video. But I bought this holster specifically because at the time I was not sure if I was going to be able to appendix carry comfortably. So this holster, if you don't know, you can remove the mag carrier, put on just a regular standalone belt clip, or a variety of other attachments. So buying this holster, I knew that if I didn't like carrying appendix, or I couldn't do it comfortably, I could just convert it to strong side carry without wasting $150 on a holster that I couldn't use. Luckily, I ended up being able to appendix carry quite comfortably, and that's my preferred and recommended method of carry. That's why I went with the holster. And then spare mag, partly because he who has the most ammo wins the gunfight, right? That's why most militaries use intermediate rifle cartridges, not full power, because you can carry more ammo. But in the probably more realistic use case, if your primary magazine fails, if it spring breaks, if it gets dirt jammed up in it, if for any reason it doesn't function as it should and a simple tap rack does not fix it, well, now I can swap to an entirely different ammunition source and continue with whatever defensive life that I'm currently engaged in. So partly because I want to have more ammo, but primarily as a fail-safe to the primary magazine, that I carry one in the chamber. You should always carry one in the chamber. I think that about covers it for the gun, unless there was anything else you wanted me to touch on.
Yeah, if you want to move on to your medical.
Yeah. So my EDC Medical is this ankle kit. This is sold by and marketed as a Warrior Poet Society kit. It's made by Blue Alpha Gear. And this is essentially a basic IFAK, if you're familiar with that, an individual first aid kit. It has basic bleeding control supplies to control massive hemorrhage, which is life-threatening within a few minutes at most. But I have also added in what a lot of people will call boo-boo kit items, right? So Band-Aids, bacitracin ointment, over-the-counter medicine, that kind of stuff. So I've been wearing this every day for several years now, so some of these supplies are a little crusty. So you'll have to excuse the lint and all that, but I'll kind of show you what I've got in here. So in this first cell, I've got part of the boo-boo kit, right? So this has Band-Aids, burn gel, alcohol wipes, some steri strips, that kind of stuff, in just like a little durable Ziploc bag. I have North American Rescue compressed Z, I believe this is Z-packed gauze, but this is just standard wound packing gauze. This is not a hemostatic agent. This is like $6. Hemostatic agents are like $50. So hemostatics are the gold standard. But if you can't afford that, direct pressure is king. Hemostatics just help. Hemostatics, if you don't know, are like a blood clotting agent that assists with the coagulation process of the blood. So they stop bleeding a little faster, but direct pressure is really what saves lives. So wound packing gauze. In the next cell, I have two things again. First of all, I have a pair of slightly crusty North American Rescue compact hyphen vent chest seals. These are for sucking chest wounds. So if you have penetrating trauma to the thoracic cage, gunshot wound or a stab wound or some other kind of traumatic penetrating injury, say you fell off your bike mountain biking and got a stick run through you and it somehow pulled out and left a hole, right? Don't remove the impaled object if you can avoid it. But there's that. I have another emergency trauma dressing. I don't remember, I think this is from North American Rescue, but this is just a 4-inch pressure dressing complete with pocket lint. This would be for severe bleeding that's not bad enough to warrant a tourniquet. You can also use this to secure packed gauze in place, and that way it'll kind of keep things where they're supposed to be while you're moving or transporting a patient. So this is important to have, in my opinion. Next cell over, have a couple of things. So we have a pair of gloves that are my size, right? If you get the prepackaged gloves, like from NAR, that are like wrapped with a little paper, take the paper off, stretch them out, flap them out, kind of make sure that they're not super compressed, because when they're compressed like that for a long time, they rip when you try to put them on. So if you have space for 2 pair of gloves, put in 2 pair of gloves. But these are XLs because I've got big hands. A Sharpie, so that way I can take notes either on my gloves or I can write the time that I placed a tourniquet, both on the tourniquet and on the patient's forehead, with the location of the tourniquet if necessary. That's not super necessary in the civilian world because usually a hospital is pretty close by. But say I was, out hiking in the boonies and it was going to take me hours to get out of the woods, then that might be a pretty valuable thing for the hospital later down the line. I have a 28 French nasopharyngeal airway with surgical lubricant attached on the back. So this is not something that I would necessarily recommend that you carry unless you know how to use it and are trained on it. But essentially what this is a basic airway adjunct that can, it's placed into the nose and it goes to the nasal pharynx. But basically it just gets your tongue kind of out of the picture, right? So the most common thing that you choke on is your tongue. So by placing this and then placing a patient in a recovery position, it gives them a slightly better chance of having what's called a patent airway, which means that they can breathe on their own with nothing blocking it. So if they're not breathing, this is not going to help them. But if they're unresponsive and still breathing and you're concerned about their airway, first thing I would do is to position their head appropriately and to roll them onto their side in the recovery position, which are all things you can find excellent YouTube videos about. I recommend Prep Medic on YouTube. But this is just a little bit of insurance to make that process of them being able to breathe on their own a little more easy. That being said though, know how to use it before you use it. It is a slightly invasive process. You are putting something in their nose. So 28 French is the most common size that fits most military age adult males. They have a variety of sizes, but I can only fit one in the kit, so that's the one that I went with. And then I have North American Rescue trauma shears. These are slightly better than the kind of like $2 special that you get in a lot of kits. These are about 12 bucks. They're just a little sturdier, the blades last a little bit longer, and other than that, they're standard trauma shears. They do have a cutout for an oxygen tank valve if that's something that you need, but other than that, they're relatively lightweight, relatively affordable trauma shears for removing clothing of a trauma patient so that you can expose injuries and treat them. Final few things that I have in here in the last cell. So first of all, I have what's called Focus Research is the brand, and frog tape. Basically, this is a very expensive strip of medical tape attached to a piece of paper. The reason I bought this was for the form factor only. It's very sticky, but it's literally just a strip of tape. So you could pretty easily figure out a way to make this on your own for a lot less. I think like 4 strips of this cost me like 20 or 30 bucks. It was a little ridiculous. But I have actually used it. My girlfriend fell while rock climbing and got a pretty good gash, and I needed a way to secure gauze to her, just kind of on her like thigh area. So this actually worked like a trick. It's, I think, 2-inch tape, but understand that it's very expensive for what you're getting, but it works well for kits like this with limited space. This would not be my main go-to tape if I had a roll of tape with me, but in a pinch like that, works good. Final thing, with the most pocket lint of any item in the kit is a tourniquet. So this is a soft T tourniquet. It is a Committee for Combat Tactical Casualty Care approved arterial tourniquet. So if you ever work in or around hospitals, you probably see those blue rubber bands that they use to put in an IV or draw blood, called tourniquets. Those are venous tourniquets. Those stop the venous return of blood, but not the arterial flow of blood. So it's actually the opposite of what you want to do in a trauma situation. In a trauma situation, you're trying to stop arterial bleeding, which is the higher pressure, bright red squirting kind of blood that squirts every time your heart beats. So these tourniquets, I'm not going to go into how to use them in this video. Again, Prep Medic on YouTube has some phenomenal content. Just make sure that if you're getting a tourniquet, you're getting a TCCC approved one, either a CAT tourniquet like this one here, which is the most common type, or Softy Wide or Sam XT or one of these other approved brands, and then make sure that you're getting them from a reliable distributor. There are thousands upon thousands of cheap airsoft knockoff copies of CAT tourniquets on Amazon. They will fail when you need them most, and the only way that you will know that is because you really needed to use it and the windlass snapped on you. So do not buy cheap knockoff tourniquets. If it costs less than about $28, it's a knockoff. North American Rescue is the distributor that I prefer. They do have an Amazon store. Just make sure that you're getting from them. Other than that, you can buy direct from their website, and there's other suppliers out there as well that sell quality medical equipment. Live the Creed is one. There are many others, but get a tourniquet, know how to use it. You should have a way to make holes. You should have a way to plug holes, all the medical equipment, and then some way down the line you should have a way to stop holes, which would be armor.
Right. So this is a lot of stuff, obviously. There's a lot of things on the table, and if you are carrying a gun every day, a lot of these things, especially the medical, you should be learning how to use it properly, and then carrying what you understand how to use. Like Doug mentioned, people dump a lot of money into their firearm specifically, and then a lot of this stuff kind of gets brushed to the side and gets forgotten about. But not a perfect world. You might get shot, one of your family members might get shot, a civilian, whoever it is. You need to be able to render aid, especially when you're carrying something like this. And even if you're not carrying a firearm, I know that you can't, in today's world, unfortunately, there's certain spots you can't carry a firearm, into a courthouse, into a bank, some spots with metal detectors, whatever, but you can pretty much always have medical equipment on you, no matter where you go. So it's a big deal to have something like this with you. You never know when it might be useful.
Yeah, so definitely get some training. Even if it's just YouTube. Before I was an EMT, I did a lot of YouTube University on how to use all this stuff. And again, that doesn't certify me to do anything, but you don't need to be licensed to put a tourniquet on somebody to save their life, right? So carry it, know how to use it efficiently, know how to put it on yourself if you need to, right? Understand what you're carrying, why you're carrying it, and how to carry and use it all. But I think that's it for my regular on-body stuff.
Awesome.
You got anything else?
No, we'll jump right into the next section.
All right.
Just went over the everyday carry that he has with him for most days. Now we're going to go over some more supplemental things that he might carry along with him. Doug has also got an Instagram page that he goes over in much more depth. A lot of this stuff, he's got a lot of great content on it. You guys should check him out, but your Instagram name is?
So my Instagram is Golden Shadow Defense. You have to type it in exactly for it to pop up. So it's all lowercase, no spaces, and it's golden_shadow_defense. And I will say the information on there I think is pretty good. The photo video quality is a little lackluster. I'm not very good at that. So still improving, but yeah, a lot of good technical content there if you're interested.
Yeah, definitely check it out. There's a ton of information, and I've learned a lot from it, so I'm sure the rest of you all would as well. So I'm going to let Doug take it away again, and I'm going to listen. So.
All right, so you may have seen Dan's video already about his ready rig setup. So in this video, we'll largely be covering my ready rig setup, but this is sort of my stuff has gotten worse, but not so bad that I need armor and a war belt and a long gun, you know, exposed and all that kind of stuff. So the way that I would most likely set this up is with nothing but this radio in it. So currently I have two 20-round 5.56 magazines in here. I have a spare radio battery for my Anytone 878, and then I have a small durable Ziploc bag with some CR123As and some AAAs as well. I also have a Princeton Tech Viz tactical headlamp that takes those AAA batteries. This can easily be shoved in one of the side cells there. And then if I really need to plus up, I have this T-Rex GP pouch that has a notebook, a pencil, a Sharpie, a couple of batteries, and a morale patch on it. This just Velcros directly onto the front. This is not very concealable, but it's very quick to add if I did decide that I needed that extra bit of oomph. So like I was saying, the most likely way that I run this is just with the radio concealed under my sweatshirt. Now with this particular antenna, it would be pretty difficult to conceal. I brought a stubby today to test, and it immediately broke as soon as I put it on. So that's what I get for buying cheap Amazon stuff. But these radios are, this is very similar model. I'll use this one for kind of demonstrative purposes here, but these are DMR radios. They're capable of encryption, know your local laws and legality with encryption and all that stuff, but the radios from a hardware standpoint, or excuse me, a software standpoint, are capable of it. They will do analog, they'll do ham radio, they'll do commercial stuff. The radio is capable of it, just understand where it's legal. But this radio is Bluetooth enabled, so I have this innocuous looking bracelet that's actually a push to talk button for the radio that is Bluetooth to it, and then my also innocuous looking regular athletic type headphones. These are Aftershok's bone conductor headphones. They're really nice. They go over your ear so you can still hear what's going on, but these are also Bluetooth to the radio, so you might get a little bit of feedback here, but radio check. 1, 2. So with this concealed under a sweatshirt or a jacket and this innocuous button on my wrist and no suspicious wires or anything, I can have covert communications with a teammate or a home station or a local amateur repeater or whatever I deem fit for that particular use case. But this is just kind of a basic, something that I could throw under a sweatshirt or in a backpack if I needed to plus myself up just a little bit. But I think that's pretty much all I had on this setup. More to come in the future, but unless you had any questions, that's about it.
Yeah, no, just having options. Like, all of these are options that Doug has the ability to add on. You know, even his options for his options. He's got the ready rig, and then he can take that on, throw that off if he needs extra gear. So just having the ability to meet the threat level in your area, whatever that might be, super important. Again, train with your stuff, learn how to use it, and you know, have options if you're able to, but the most important thing is training. So if you have a pistol and that's all you have, train with it, learn how to use it. Your biggest asset is your brain, so constantly be increasing your knowledge. There's so much good, readily available content online, YouTube, whatever it is. But yeah, I would just say, you know, have options if you can afford it and it's something that you can budget with. So yeah.
Absolutely. On another holster system that I have as an option. So this is my regular kind of like around town sort of holster setup. I also have the T-Rex Ironside suite of holsters here. So this is the T-Rex Ironside for the VP9. Again, wrong-handed, but this is a concealable outside the waistband holster that they make. I got this because I wanted something that I could still conceal if I needed to, but that would be more comfortable for hiking or other more kind of walking intense activities, right? Going on a 10-mile hike with an appendix carry pistol, especially one with an enclosed emitter and a full-size weapon light, is not fun. Doable, but not fun. So I picked up one of these. It's harder to conceal because it's a longer light and stuff, so you have to have a pretty long sweatshirt or jacket to really conceal it. But for the purposes of just kind of like going for a hike on a more popular trail where you're more likely to cross paths with other people, this is a little bit, well, a lot of it more low profile than like a thigh rig or something like that. So that was the primary use case for this. In addition to that, I have the mag carrier that they sell. You can bridge these together, the various accessory carriers that they have. I have them independent, and I'll explain why later. But I have the pistol mag carrier. I have a 5.56 Stenag pattern or PMag pattern AR mag carrier. And then I have their tourniquet carrier. This carries a standard cat tourniquet. It'll also fit a SAM XT and a Softy wide and most of your TCCC approved tourniquets. This is another EDC kit that I have. I don't generally carry this in my pocket, but this is one that I will frequently add to a backpack if I'm going for a day hike. It will fit in a cargo pocket. It's basically the size of a very thick wallet for scale there. But this is a very simple bleed kit. So it's just a bifold. It's got 2 elastic bands here. The bottom compartment here is a pair of gloves, just thick, regular gloves. A small thing of quick clock gauze. This is not like a full roll of combat gauze, but it is a hemostatic agent. And then on the other side, I have a simple boo-boo kit, which has much the same as the other one: steri strips, band-aids, gauze, or not gauze, sorry, alcohol pads, bacitracin ointment, some aspirin, that kind of thing. And then I have a SWAT T tourniquet. So if you've never seen these before, basically it's a rubber band that's like one long straight piece. It's not a loop, about, I don't know, yay long, give or take. But it is a sort of combination tourniquet and pressure dressing, depending on how tight you wrap it. These are good as a backup. I would not recommend this as a primary tourniquet because they're very, very hard to put on yourself. But with proper training, it is doable. But given their form factor, they're pretty easy to stow in a pocket or a backpack or whatever. So they're a good backup option. They're a good multi-use option. But I would still go with a cat tourniquet or something similar as your primary life-saving tourniquet. Then the kit is just some nice durable material made by Live the Creed. Had it for a while. It's held up pretty good. I usually throw this like in my duffel bag when I go traveling or in my day pack when I'm hiking.